on. So that's what that is. There's so much in between. I did not plan to post it this way. I wanted to use it as a reference for me to build more stories, but I think this is enough. It's just a time where everybody's finally starting to talk about, by everybody I mean people that have experienced these types of things. They're beginning to speak, and a lot of truth is coming out. So I think that people aren't afraid to sound crazy and look crazy anymore. And that's kind of where I'm at. Not to mention a few other reasons. So, yeah. Haven't done this in a while. But here is a little voiceover of me just fresh waking up in the morning, feeling the need to tell a little bit of my story. I was approached by an assistant coach on my track team who they used to sit in the bleachers and just stare and watch, and eventually my co-coach ended up banning them. They were recruiting kids. But long story short, one track meet day, he pulled me aside after all the stuff that I've been going through. And this guy called me Dorothy, follow the yellow brick road. He promised me everything, microphone with Project Flint on it and all this crazy stuff. And in return, I had to sell their narrative, do what they wanted me to, say what they wanted me to, and give up my narrative, which was the truth. Anyway, at this track meet, they were twins at that. These are brothers, two of them brothers, literal twins, birth twins, same mom, born in the same womb, twins. And he pulled me aside. I'll never forget. And that's when I knew who he was and why he was there. And these were guys from Milwaukee. That's how integrated, like, this system is like, these were people from my hometown that, you know, the work I was doing was in Flint, Michigan, and, you know, that was primarily where my boots on the ground work was, but I was communicating with people from all over the world, essentially, at that time, because I was doing different events and starting at that time to get deeply involved with politics and politicians, even quietly. I always worked very quietly on the low. I never shared that with the public because I knew, well, first it started as like I just wanted to build the trust and I wanted to know the truth. They held a lot of the answers. So, and then I started to see the ring. Anyway, and he showed me a video, and it was like a Rothschild guy, and he was in an office, and it was like red. I remember if the carpet was red or if there's red velvet curtains, or both. Really nice office, very fancy. It was just like him and his executive desk and like the background and like the landscape, and I'll never forget, like, the video was made to make me feel special, and I'm sure it was made for everybody to see that had gotten to that point to see the video. It was like a recruitment, basically, and it was like, I don't remember word for word what it said, but it went something like this. That basically I've been chosen, and if I'm seeing this video, it's because I'm chosen. I've been given an opportunity. I didn't even finish the video. I just could sense and knew it was evil, and I knew already that these were the people that were after me because they had made a proposition with me and I had denied it. But things got worse after that. That's when I started having people in my home. I dated a guy from the military, and he pursued the crap out of me. He actually showed up out of nowhere at my work. Full military uniform all the time. He was a recruiter. And at that time, I was the liaison. I was the college and military liaison for the school in which I worked. And he would come, and he wanted to date me. And he was a little younger than I was, and I also had children, so like I just didn't feel like he was a good pair for me. But he would not take no for an answer. And then he would bring me lunch, and then he would bring me flowers, and he would just, and he was really cute too, not to mention he was like 6'4", just a really attractive guy. But I wasn't interested because I've always, I don't know, I was just in a different phase of my life, really. Well, long story short, ended up with a fish in my closet after my neighbor downstairs died. I thought maybe it was her. I'm like, did they even take her dead body out of the house? Like, I smelled death. It smells like death. I couldn't find it for weeks. The same. Him and my son were outside one day, myself included. And there was like this little toy. We were outside like fishing by the river. I lived on the river. And there's this little toy that was like on the river's edge. It was just like there. Somebody else's, I don't know whose it was. Washed up, I don't remember. It was just there. And anyway, that's why I knew it was him that did this to me. It didn't dawn on me until years later. But I always connected. I was like, that's weird. But I was in such a trauma state at that time because everything that happened with my daughters, which the guardian ad litem was always for me. And then in this meeting that we had with before you go to court, he slammed some papers down on the table. And it was Project Flint papers. And basically, at that time, I was in court fighting for my reputation, which was being torn apart by two men that hated me and ultimately wanted to destroy my life because they were mad at me for relationship issues that we had. So they teamed up against me. That's one thing. But they got lucky to take me to court during that time because it was a time where I genuinely had big, powerful people wanting to silence me and destroy me, and they were mad at me because of the work that I was pursuing and the truth that I was telling and trying to tell. He slammed the paper on the table and said, basically this is the... So basically it was all because of Project Flint, and then he did not give me recommendation to have my child, but supervised visitations. I was made out to be an abuser, all this horrible stuff. Family ripped apart, and I just know, I absolutely know that there was influence from a higher level, behind the scenes person or people or group of people that I will never know who they are, but absolutely had an influence on that. The way that everything went down, I'm not stupid. It was very subliminal ways that it was being told that only I would understand, as to why I still didn't back down, because it was done now at this point. All I knew is I had to continue to be upright and honest and forthgoing and truthful, and I believed that God would work everything for my good, and he did. I mean, even sent, just crazy stuff. Kombucha in my kitchen, business card in my kid's paint box, lighter and note on my car when I come out in the morning. War machines, methods of, just you name it. All kinds of stuff would happen. I could feel energy waves. It was like in my brain. It wasn't a sound. I could feel it. And I just remember praying through it. Like, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew what they were doing because I was doing a lot of research at the time. I was reaching out for help because I knew that something was happening to me. And I later began to understand that they were trying to make me feel like I was losing my mind and going crazy. So I tried, and I did everything even harder to make sure that I stayed sane and on a good path. I got closer to Jesus, number one. I started training jiu-jitsu to protect myself, which ultimately turned into a gift from God because it did help protect my mental health as well. So there's just a lot that happened throughout the years of stuff that I endured, stuff I've even forgotten. I know I was in such a traumatized state. Oh, I was on the phone with my sister once when something happened. I was house sitting for her, And her dog was acting really strange. And then somebody rang the doorbell, and I don't remember if they rang the doorbell first or after the first time. It was like a ding dong ditch situation. I was on the phone with my sister or my friend Will, one of the two. I think it was my sister, because she's the one that later brought this to my memory, and I was like, wow, I forgot about that. I can't believe you remembered it. And number two, I can't believe that you're acknowledging this is something crazy, because I was so disregarded by my family, except for my mom and my stepdad. Actually, they were the only ones that understood. My stepdad grew up in a communist country, and so he went through a lot of things that I was experiencing that people don't talk about, and he actually told me to stay quiet because he felt I was in danger, and so did my mom. But the doorbell rang, and then one of those times nobody was there, and then the dog got really weird, and then the doorbell rang again. There was a guy at the door, and I don't remember what he said, but it was just bizarre. I think he was looking for somebody or cable. It was dark outside, and he came first, and then the doorbell rang, and then there was nobody there, and I was house sitting alone in this house by myself. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. But I was terrified. I don't even know if I left or not. But I know that I swept the outside yard. I was like, I'm not gonna be a punk about this. Like, these people are gonna mess with me. I'm coming out. Coming out. So I came out of the house in the dark and looked for whatever it could have been. There was nobody there. And I was on the phone with my sister when that happened. And she couldn't believe it. I think that was when she started. I think that was the time she started to understand. But still, even after that, like, I was still disregarded. And I think that some things just aren't meant for certain people. Like, I really had to come to terms with a lot that some people are just not given certain loads to carry because they simply cannot handle it. Their minds either aren't large enough, they're not made for that, that's not their purpose. So I had to let go a lot of pain and even anger and bitterness and resentment, and understand that, like, this was my journey that God trusted to me, because he called me to Flint and I was obedient, and I trusted that he would keep me safe, and he did all the way through the crazy stuff that I endured in Flint, on my way home from Flint, and then eventually later on at home. And that's when I started to know, like, I'm really in danger, because now it's not just happening in Michigan, it's happening everywhere. I'm being followed. On my lunch breaks, people are there, sitting outside, watching me. The same woman, she wanted to be seen. She wanted me to see her. This one in particular, she's sending a message. And I confronted her one day, and I said, why are you following me? And she got really mad and really defensive, and she was like, I am on my lunch break. This is where I come to have lunch. Da-da-da. And I didn't, what did I expect? Nothing different. So I drove off angry. I was mad. I was getting mad. I was like, just pissed at this point. And I wasn't caring anymore. I had people come to my face and say things to my face. I didn't know who they were, strangers. Subliminal messages, and then walk away. Only something that I would understand. Some key notes or words or phrases, and then they would just walk away. And they were sending me a message. And sometimes I didn't understand it, but other times it was that, we're watching you, I can see you, I know what you're doing. I'm like, I already know that, you fools. Like, thank you for letting me know, because you're only driving me to get stronger and better. Then I really started with my athletic, side, start coming back out again. Jiu-jitsu, competing, getting stronger in that area, so I feel confident to handle myself, and I still do. So that was a gift from God. And that's why I have a shirt that says Jiu-Jitsu saves lives, because I truly believe that in that time in my life, God gave me Jiu-Jitsu as a gift. And in essence, it did save my life, because otherwise, without it, with everything I was going through, the loss of my children, the breakup of my family, my home, my finances were completely destroyed. I had a team of guys, and then the court system working in their favor to take me down. Thousands of all of my money on attorney fees. I would not stop fighting for my kids. I would not stop. I just kept wasting my money in court. I should have waited. But I didn't know at the time. I wasn't sure. You can never be sure when you're in it. It's like you can't be sure. Am I crazy? Everybody think, no, you look back, you're like, absolutely not. I know exactly, I knew what was going on then. And I know even more now. So a little bit of my story I'm documenting so I don't forget it.